Hello, HRC people. I bet, yeah, thanks for having me here. I bet there's more than a few of you here wondering why in this year, when we have 4 statewide ballot initiatives, that they sent the federal strategy guy from California to talk about it. Because didn't California screw it up 4 years ago? I think so. So in order to tell you a little bit about why, like why I'm here, why I felt I needed to be here, I want to do it telling a little story, and that's my job tonight, to tell a little bit of a story. And I think for a lot of us, that story that most defines our why we're here and why we're doing what we're doing, is our coming out story. And I don't tell mine that often, not publicly, but if you care to hear it, I'll tell a little bit of it tonight. Mine starts in 1996 at LAX airport as I'm flying out here to Northern Virginia on my break from college, and I came out to my mother. Now, a little bit about my family. I grew up in a Mormon home. I grew up in a Mormon home out in San Antonio, Texas. And all right. And I grew up in a Mormon home in San Antonio, Texas, and we were in the military. So the deck was a little bit stacked for coming out, right? Not the most friendly place, not the most accepting place, not the easiest place to do it. But a lot had changed for me since my childhood. I'd gone up to San Francisco and I discovered the theater world. And then I'd gone down to Los Angeles and started at UCLA. And I'd started meeting actual gay and lesbian people, real gay and lesbian people, and they didn't have those horns that the Mormon prophet said they were going to have. And they didn't seem particularly disturbed or depressed or upset. In fact, we had a really good time, and if you went down to West Hollywood at happy hour, we were having a great time. And so I started to have my first crushes, and one in particular was on this guy. He was, I was into older guys at the time. And he was 22 years old and a grad student. And I'm thinking about him on this flight out here to Northern Virginia in 1996, and I'm thinking, boy, how am I going to tell my mom any of what's going on in my life? I can't come out. I can't talk to her about being gay, not in my household. And before I knew it, the plane had landed right out there at Dulles, and my stepdad had picked me up, and he drove me through the woods to Manassas, Virginia, and there was my mom, her arms spread wide, and she held me. And I wondered, boy, would she hold me like this if she knew who I really was? And standing right next to her is my big brother. Now, that was a real tough one. He was the tough guy of our family. He loved watching cars go around in circles repeatedly. He loved shooting things for fun. He had a Megadeth poster and a Metallica poster, and he made endless fun of my New Kids on the Block and my NSYNC posters. So I tried to fix it with a Paula Abdul poster, and that didn't work either. And I thought, we are just like oil and water. We're just constantly growing apart. And I wondered if my family would ever truly love me, for who I was. And so I was so nervous about that, I just raced through opening presents on Christmas morning, and I raced through dinner that night, and I said, hey guys, I am so tired from traveling, I'm going to go upstairs and go to bed. And I got up there and I was so relieved I didn't have to say anything. And then I heard this sound coming down the hallway, this click-clack sound, click-clack, click-clack, click-clack. And it was my mom coming. I'd heard the sound my entire life. My mom on her braces and her crutches, and my door opens and she comes and sits down on the corner of my bed and she starts to talk. She wants to talk. It's what we've always done. We talk about everything, but I don't feel safe talking right now, so she has the agenda, and she decides to talk about the news of the day and this thing that's really bugging her, this thing called Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Now, she was bothered by it, not because it excluded anybody. She was bothered that all of a sudden gay and lesbian people could just hide who they were and join up in her army. And she didn't like that. She didn't understand why these broken people had any place in her army. Why these people we had learned were sinners had any place in this nation's army. And as she went on and on and on, I felt my face start to turn red, and I felt the tears well up in my eyes, and I prayed for them to stay there. I prayed for them not to roll down my cheeks, but they did. And my mom looked down at me, and she knew. And I looked up into my mom's eyes, And I could see the despair, I could see the pain, her questioning what she had done wrong to break her son, what she had done wrong to ruin her baby boy. And we didn't resolve it. We didn't resolve it that day. In fact, I flew back to Los Angeles the next night, and I was a little worried because my mom is coming to see me in about 3 months for graduation, and my friends could tell something was wrong, but I didn't want to talk about it. They knew my mom was coming, though, and they said, hey, we'll just make a dinner, like, no big deal, we'll pasta and salad, and it'll be just fine. And that day came sooner than I thought, and I heard that sound, that click-clack sound, click-clack, 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 coming to my apartment door, and she comes in, and my friends are there with their salad and their pastas, and I gotta admit something, I completely copped out. I never, ever told my friends that my mom was homophobic. I didn't want to. I never told my friends that my mom had a big problem with me. And I also never told my mom that so many of my friends were now gay and lesbian. So she comes in, sits down, and they start serving her pasta. They start serving her salad. And I start backing into the kitchen because all of a sudden I'm realizing that because I've said nothing, they think that she accepts and loves her gay son. And this is pre-Ellen, this is pre-Will and Grace. They think she's a goddamn saint. Right? So they start coming over and telling her their stories of coming out, their stories of feeling less than and isolated, rejected by their families and their parents, not able to even come home for Christmas. And pretty soon they're so comfortable, they're talking about their dating life and their sex life. And I'm rather scared, and I'm watching them all walk out one by one, and she says, hey, once everyone's gone, she says, hey, come over here and sit with me, and I did. And she said, well, I liked your friends. I said, okay, good. I liked them too. She said, I spent a lot of time talking to that one in particular, that 22-year-old grad student. I said, yeah. She said, well, I spent a particular amount of time talking to him, and I told him that he'd best stop taking you for granted, and he better take you to dinner, and this time he ought to pay. And I felt this light inside of me I had never felt in my entire life. I felt so much hope. I felt freedom and liberation as she wrapped her arms around me. And for the very first time in my life, I knew that my mother loved me for me. And it had happened in one night. It had happened in one night because she heard the real stories of real gay and lesbian people. She met actual gay and lesbian people. And in one night, it dispelled all of the myths and the lies and the stereotypes that she'd heard for generations from our church. And in the South and the military, they were gone. And I thought, my God, if that is the power of our personal stories, then that is what I'm dedicating my life to. So I graduated from college, and if it was a reality show, it was the gay episode. And if it was a TV movie, it was the Pedro Zamora story. And within 10 years, I was getting to tell the story of my great hero, Harvey Milk. Right? So I'm up in San Francisco, and I'm so damn proud of myself, and I'm so eager for it to turn out right and working really hard at making sure it turns out right and well that I'm absolutely ignoring all the phone calls and all my voicemails, and in particular, the voicemails coming from my big brother. And I thought, boy, these are always tough calls because he's that kind of guy, and he tried smoking for the first time in our family. He was the first one to start to drink, and these things in a Mormon home, he was the bad boy, so there was always trouble. And when I picked up the phone, I heard that sound of desperation in his voice that I'd often heard, and I said, hey, man, what is it? What happened? Did you get somebody pregnant? It's going to be all right. And he said, no. Do you know my friend Larry? I said, oh yeah, Larry's got the tooth missing, and you guys like watching cars go around in circles together. And he said, yeah, Larry. And I said, well, what's wrong? And he said, Larry broke up with me. I said, what? And he said, Larry and I were down in the basement maybe about a year ago, and we were watching a race and drinking a beer, and he leaned over and he kissed me. And there's nothing in my life that has ever felt so true. There's nothing in my life that's ever felt so right, and I love Larry so much, and he loves me, but he's afraid. He's afraid that people are going to find out, and he's afraid of what's going to happen. And I said, oh, well, you've come to the right person, right? So I whipped out every hope speech I had. I whipped out every it gets better speech there is, and I gave it to him, and I gave it to him, and I gave it to him. But there was nothing I could do that made him feel hope. There was nothing I could do so that I could hear that sound of liberation in his voice that I had had. And I thought, what a fool. What a fool I had been. Of course I felt free when I came out. I came out in California, where we have laws protecting us, at least some laws, so we don't lose our home and we don't lose our jobs when we come out. So people are coming out. They are dispelling the lies about gay and lesbian people out there. And so there is a community coming out. He grew up in Texas and came out in Virginia, where he could lose his job, he could lose his home. And people aren't coming out because of that, and they're not dispelling the myths and the lies and the stereotypes, especially in the communities he holds dear. So he has every reason to be afraid. And I thought, all right, well, it's time for me to change my goals. I have to make my goals bigger. So I had the great privilege of being up on that Oscar stage, and when I took that stage, I made a promise to the young people out there that they would have equal rights federally across this great nation of ours. And when I got off that stage, luckily, I knew a man who had the vision and the strategy to make that a reality, and his name is Chad Griffin, and I am so very proud that he is leading HRC today. And together, we sued the state of California in federal court, saying that Proposition 8 is unconstitutional. And if you've been paying any attention, we have been winning. We won at the district court, and if you were paying attention, you know that we've also won just a few months ago at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And I was so excited when that happened. I just wanted to race to the phone and call my big brother and say, my God, we are one step away. We are one step away from the U.S. Supreme Court, where my freedom will be your freedom, where my hope is your hope, my liberation is yours. But I couldn't. Because 2 weeks earlier, my brother lost his battle with cancer and he died. And he will never know that feeling of liberation. He will never know that feeling of hope and freedom that we all feel. He'll never know what it feels like to be a full American. And do you know why? Do you know why I'm here tonight? I am here tonight because that has to end. I'm here tonight because I want Texas and Utah and Virginia to be free and equal. And if that is ever going to happen, then we have to send a message to this nation. A message coming from Maine and Minnesota, from Washington and Maryland on November 6th, that the voters, that the people of this country believe it is time for the Constitution to apply to all of us. And who will be hearing that message? The young people of this nation will hear that message, and it will give them hope, and it will save lives. But do you know who else is listening? 9 people right here in the District of Columbia called the U.S. Supreme Court. They are listening. They are paying attention. They are watching what happens in these 4 states because they don't like to be 10 steps ahead of the country. They like to be about 2, but they most certainly never want to be behind the arc of history when it comes to equality in this nation ever again. They have seen that dark day in this court, and they will not let it happen again. So we must send a message to that court that the people want freedom and the people want equality. And how do we do that? How do we do that? Number one, and I hope I've demonstrated a bit of it today, you have to get out there and tell your personal story. You have to come out. Never, ever underestimate the power of your personal story. Between now and Election Day, I want you to tell it. I want you to go shopping in Maryland and come out to every cashier you meet. And number two, and I have some good news tonight from the folks at HRC. that every single dollar we raise from here on out will go directly to the ground in those 4 marriage equality states, every single dollar, so that they have the resources they need to tell their stories on the phones, on the radio, on television, and person to person, so that they can tell their stories, because we must win. So I need you to give and to give and to give tonight until it is uncomfortable, because we must win, and we must send that message so that we can change the narrative of this nation. A narrative that says the people of this nation believe that every single person, every single love, and every single family in this country has value, will be respected and be protected. And we must also change the narrative of this nation and of our movement on November 6th, and send a message loud and clear that we will no longer, ever again, leave a single one of our brothers and our sisters behind, no matter where they live in these great states, these great United States of America. Thank you very much.